Okay guys, here's today's fix. A problem that occurred about a week and a half ago, and I need my garage bad, so I got to fix this like ASAP. So let me show you guys what happened. Went to let the garage up with the outdoor entering the code, and this snapped. This door is about 23 years old. I'm assuming these springs are the age of the door when this house was built and these were installed. So we're gonna replace them. I'll show you guys step by step. I've done this a couple times. Let's do this fairly quickly, but safely, of course. Show you guys step by step of everything that I do when I change these springs out. And it can save you guys some money. Let me show you guys how the springs came, and then we'll show some emphasis. I'll put emphasis on some things you need to pay attention to before you get started. So guys, when you order these specific springs or coils, the box doesn't show the true length. They come curled over inside the box, you guys can see, with some winding rods, some instructions. But yeah, these are pretty much the same length that's on the door. I'll show you guys exactly how the size of the box. Small box, not even, it's 15 inches long. So like I said, they curled over in there, and I just want to note that I don't think they sent you the wrong springs when you were ordering them. Also, you want to check for springs to make sure you have the correct springs. As far as this hole measuring the same diameter as the torsion bar, and you can do a quick check. Like, let's remove one from the box and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is how they come. A lot of them, of course, the expensive ones or the better quality springs come with a mark or some lettering on them. That helps you in the winding process. So let me show you guys a quick way to make sure you have the right diameter springs before you go to removing the old springs. So before I even cut the wire towel for the springs, or just in case I got to ship them back, use the end of this torsion bar as a gauge to make sure we're fitting out there. You guys can see it's the perfect size. So let's remove it from the box. Winding rod, both springs. Some instructions. We don't need those. So let's put some emphasis on some things before we move on. You guys can see they're marked red and black, and I want to put emphasis on that. I want to make note of that before you swap these out. The red, this is a right hand wound spring. It goes on the left side, and I'll show you guys right now. So we go to the left side of the door. Notice the black marking on that spring, on the comb of that spring. And you go to this side, it's red, the left hand side. So this is a right hand wound spring on the left hand side. So I want to note that, make sure you put, as you guys can see right there, the red marking, make sure it's on the left hand side of the door. And the drum is the same thing. Notice the red mark on the drum to let you know this is the left side drum. And the black mark in here, this is the right side drum. All right, let's get ready to get started. Let's do some precautionary measures first. I don't want this door coming up. Unlock that. We're gonna disengage the opener. And normally it's a cotter pin right here, but they have, look like an old key ring. So we're gonna remove this. We don't have to disconnect the power now. Even if the garage door was engaged, it'll lock onto that mechanism, but it's not raising anything. It's not hooked up to the door. So that's obsolete now. You don't have to worry about disconnecting the power. So, and this gives us some space to remove these springs from that mounting bracket. Okay, guys, before we do this, let me show you guys exactly what it's doing. Let me show you guys the problem. What happens when one of these springs break. Let's show you guys exactly what it's doing. Press the button. It won't come up no higher. The door senses something's not right, so it won't raise up no higher. And sometimes it bounces up and down. Just press the button again. It just keep doing this. Let's do it again. So I may have to help it close. Guys, you can actually help this garage open as well. I've done it throughout the week as it was broken. The spring was broken. Have somebody press the opener while you raise up on. You have to do it in sync, otherwise it won't come up. But you can have somebody press the button while you raise up on that lower part of it and help it all the way up, at least halfway, and it'll go on its own. I'll press it twice. Okay. Still there's some tension on it, so we'll okay, we're closed. Okay, that's great to get started. Let me show you guys. Let's go some things I'll be using. I'll explain what I'm using it for. First, the most important thing to me out the gate, safety glasses. I don't work without them. Some safety glasses. Of course, you need some snips or cutting pliers. And you guys just see, we just cut the wire ties from the springs. This is a 7/16. Those set screws are 7/16. The garage set screws, maybe 3/8 inch. I'm not sure because they're older. We'll just have a 3/8 inch on standby. Some vice grips, some standard vice grips. I got some 9/16 wrenches to remove the springs from the center bracket. Those 4 bolts. Some needle nose pliers for the cotter pin in the door. If you also have somebody put a key ring in mine, but for the cotter pin, a mark. You're gonna make a line along the spring, so it helps you count the winds. Some thread lock because there's no lock washers on those center bracket screws. So we'll just use some thread locker, and you guys can see this is removable. It's high strength, but it's removable. And just a marker to mark, and this is also an option. I'll use this marker for drum placement. We want to put the drums back in the same spot that they were removed from. So those set screws and the drums can go back in the exact same location they were removed in. We don't want to make another dimple in that torsion bar. Also, one other thing before we get started. If one of these springs broke on your garage door, you want to replace both of them. I just can see replacing one because the other one eventually is going to snap. So replace both of them so you can know when both of them were replaced. You will know the date when both were replaced. You can keep that in your notes, your homeowner's notes, to keep a note from when the garage springs were replaced. My car is in here, so I don't have much space in the back to work with, so we're going to do the best we can with the ladder. And camera placement, that's important to me, so I have camera placement pretty much dead on to what I'm doing, so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. But the car is in my way, so not much room back there to work with, but we'll have enough to get this job out the way and done. Want to note that? Now let's get started. Let's unwind that spring. All right, guys, so look at this. These are 3/8 inch. So we got 3/8 inch set screws here and here as well. Three-eighth inch set screws for both. So let's unwind this coil, and you guys can see how the winding rod sits inside of this comb. This is called a comb. And some oil in there. I'm gonna wipe this clean a little bit, guys. Wipe this out of here. We don't want anything slipping out, so let me clean this real quick. I'm using two 9/16 wrenches here. You may want to remove the bottom bolt first because removing the top bolt will allow the spring to sag once the bottom becomes a little loose, and it'll make it a little difficult to get a wrench on the bottom bolt, even opening a wrench, because the spring will constantly be in the way just a little bit. But I recommend removing the bottom bolt first. I've done it either way. It doesn't matter to me. And you guys will see what I'm talking about in a second. So just using two 9/16 wrenches here. Just want to note that. Now that the springs are loose from the torsion bar, let's remove the broken spring set screws so we can have both springs loose so when we get ready to slide them off. So that's what I'm doing now, just removing the set screws from the broken spring. There's no tension there, so no worries. Just making sure both are already loose so I can just get ready to slide them off. Okay guys, now that we got both coils or springs removed from the center bracket, there's a bearing. And I'll show you guys that in a second. There's a bearing, a center bearing that sits on that bracket. And I'll show you how it is on the other side. Actually, I kind of also marked with the blue marker where the other around along the edges of this brace for the coil to get placement, to see if it seats back in the same placement, since it does rest on that center bearing on this side. You guys can see how I marked it in the same place, so we can go back exactly how these rested on that bracket on the center bearing. Okay guys, now it's time for us to remove this drum. As you guys can see, the cable is already removed from the drum. Since I removed that tension from off the spring, cable came loose, which is perfectly fine. We can move this out of our way. You know, it sits in that slot there. I'm also just marked the drum and the torsion bar for placement. I want to place this drum exactly where it's seated on this torsion bar. For the set screws to go in the exact same spot that we remove them from. I don't want to make new dimples or imprints inside this torsion bar, so I want them to go exactly back how they were. So I'll make a mark here. Use just a blue Sharpie. I'll do the other on the other side as well. So I can place this drum exactly back how it's removed from off this torsion bar. Okay guys, everything's removed. I'm gonna take a broom and get all these spider webs from up here since I'm up here doing this job. But we're gonna slide each side out one at a time, put the new spring on. Remember the black side is on the right side. It's the left hand wound spring, and this is the right hand wound spring on the left side. So remember red. So let's pull them off and install both. Since that torsion bar has rested within those bearings for like 25 years, it just didn't slide out. So I used a mallet on the left hand side. You guys see it didn't budge, but this time I'm using a block of wood and a hammer, and that got it to move. Because you don't want to mushroom those sides out, so don't hit the hammer directly onto the torsion bar, because you'll mushroom those sides out and they won't fit through those side bearings. So just want to note that. That's what I did. Eventually got it. But you guys will see I run into another problem on the left side in a second. I just inserted this clip to show that I did spray those bearings with WD-40, and the torsion bar is pretty clear throughout that area. So there wasn't a reason for it to not slide through. But I sprayed all the bearings with WD-40, as you guys can see now. So I did want to just insert this to show that I did spray it to help it out. Okay guys, you want to make sure the set screws on the new spring is all the way in, otherwise it will not go up on this bar. So I gotta pull it out some. Okay guys, I got an issue here, and the bar looks clean, but it's like it gets larger here, and it's not pushing all the way through. I don't know what's going on right here. It's not pushing all the way through that center bearing. I don't want to mess it up. So instead of wrestling with this, like I said, the torsion bar is pretty clean in that area, but it's not allowing me to go through, and I'm using some wood to hit on the end because I don't want to damage that end, otherwise it won't be able to pull through that bearing inside of that bracket. So what we're gonna do to make this quick and simple, remove these, I believe these are 1/2 inch or 7/16 bolts real quick. shoot these off, shoot this bracket off real quick. I can pull this back, pull the spring off, and make it simple, opposed to me trying to damaging that center bearing, trying to see why that torsion bar is not going through back that way. You guys can see, I can see if it was like this, whereas this needs some sandpaper or file or something to clean it off. But we're not gonna wrestle with that. We're gonna wrestle with this. We're just gonna take this off real quick. Okay guys, so if you run into this problem, I marked so I can go back in the same spot. Use the marker so I can go back in the same spot. So a simple removal allows us to keep moving quickly with this job. So I'll wait till I open the garage door to dust all this off so the dust can run outside. But let's get our drums lined up and bolt those coils in, or those springs in, and then we're gonna do some winding. Let's bolt the coils onto the center bracket and our spot shield line back up. You really didn't have to mark because that center bearing is going to center this on that bracket exactly where it was anyway. So all right, now that this is perfectly tight, you don't want to go too hard on them because you'll break these brackets. You'll break these brackets that's along these coils. So be careful with tightening them up because you'll definitely break these braces. So now let's get the drums in line. We see our mark. Let's rest that drum up against there. They go both for our marks. So we gotta slide this pole over. till they line up. Since we have our marks aligned, let's twist these set screws in place. You can feel it kind of go right in the groove. Okay, so let's mount the camera up now so we can put our first cable in place. Okay guys, we're setting it perfectly. We wrapped around. Vice grips are holding us in place. We have tension. Our marks are lined up. Let's go to the other side. Okay guys, we can actually put this in place. Okay, so we're gonna hold that in place. Okay, we're good. We're good. Let's move on to the final step, which is the hardest part, or the most dangerous part. Winding these out. We'll start with the left-hand side first. This is the right-hand wound spring. So let's do that side first, and then we'll do this and close it out. Remember, those set screws are 7/16, opposed to the drum set screws are 3/8 inch. To help with our counts, and you don't have to do this, this is optional, but I recommend doing this to keep up with your count. I got some lunar surface paint, the surface of the moon. Just got some paint around. You can just use gray, white, any kind of paint you got laying around. I'm gonna make a line along the width of those coils, and so you can help keep count of the winds. I believe with this door, the 7 feet door, there's 28 wounds. You gotta wind these up 28 times, both of them. I didn't make this clear, so I paused it right here. You wanna wind it up 28 times each coil, quarter turns only, quarter turns. However, when you first start off, as you guys see I do, you wanna make one round with your hand before you get started. And you should have, I think, 7.5 gaps between the paint marks. So we're gonna paint 2 lines there, and let's do that right now. Okay, let's do the other side now. Be extremely careful, guys, when winding these springs. They're extremely dangerous, nothing to play with. You die if that rod hits you back or dismantle your face or disfigure you. Okay, guys, we're done. We got our 7.5 pretty much on both sides. Everything looks good. Everything's back tightened. Be extremely careful. Want to note a couple things. When you're putting those rods in, make sure you push up. Make sure they're firmly inside of those holes in that comb. Push up, then pull up. So you want to push inside the hole as you pull up. And as you're getting towards the higher counts, let me tell you how I count in my mind. So this will help your psyche when you're doing this job. It's just like a mental block to letting you know like how much tension are on these springs. I count 14, 7, 7. So I count 14 first, rest my arms, 7, then 7. I don't want to count way up to 28. That's that bothers you mentally when messing with something like this. So count 14, then 7, then 7. It seems to kind of take away the stress or the anxiety in your mind when counting like that, opposed to just going all the way to 28 straight. So that's the quick note on some things that I do. So I went 14, 7, 7, and we all good. So let's try to open it right now. Let me mount the camera. Before we open the door, guys, just another quick note. Make sure you tighten down on those set screws to create a nice dimple in that torsion bar. You can feel it kind of gripping in there. Get a nice bite on those set screws inside that torsion bar. Tighten down pretty firmly, and you'll know when you'll feel it kind of digging into that torsion bar. You know you got a nice firm grip on that torsion bar, and they're not going out and they're not going anywhere. So just want to make a note of that as well. Let's open the door. Let's install the garage door opener, and we'll go from there. Cotter pin installed. Let's go. All in one motion. All in one motion. Press the garage door opener. Yeah, we got action. We got action. All in one motion. Oh, by the way, I'm sweating bullets. It's 100 degrees today. It's 100 degrees out today, guys. It's baking hot outside today. And now you guys can see why I want the garage to open so I can work on the car. Gotta finish this bad boy up today. But that's it. Let's let it down and see what we got. We're back ladding up good. Press the button. No bouncing. We don't bounce. We good. Flawless. Another flawless install for the channel, guys. Hope you guys found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Terrence, I'm out.